All right, I will say good morning. Good morning. Let us begin. Begin by thanking all of our sponsors for this morning share. To thank our TALMUD Torah sponsors for the month of Elul. Haba Aleinu L'Tova, Baruch Meir and Rena Dubin, in honor of our children, all of the Suburban sons and daughters beginning their year of study in Eretz Yisroel. May their Torah study and mitzvos in the Holy Land merit the release of our precious hostages, the success of our soldiers, and the return to their families in the arrival of Moshiach, tzidkeuni, bimheira, b'yameinu. Amen. Our week of learning sponsors, Josh and Malkie Rosenbloom and Shalom and Zahava Rosenbloom, the nishmas, Yisrael, Dovid, Ben Moshe, Hershel, Zichron Lebrach. We hope that in the merit of our TALMUD Torah, the neshama will have an aliyah and the family in Nechama. And of course, we dedicate our learning the nishmos, the three Kedoshim who were killed in the terror attack on the Allenby Bridge yesterday. We hope that in the merit of our TALMUD Torah, their neshamas will have an aliyah, families in Nechama, and Halavai should be a week of Besoros Tovos for all of Klal Yisrael. Both say today's daf is Ayin Vav 76, and we are picking up in Miras Hashem on. We have a little piece of Agarata left over from yesterday. Didn't quite make it to the finish line yesterday, but we left off yesterday. Amrei Shlakish, right? So what I say in the wide lines, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down in the wide lines. So just really a little piece over here. So also remember again. We're going on the theme over here of the dramatic and miraculous expansion of Yerushalayim in the Messianic era. So Amrei Shlakish, Asidak HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Hosef Al Yerushalayim Elef Tafef Ginos. So both sides, the Gemara gives over here like a little bit of an interesting, not mnemonic is the wrong idea, but a little memory aid. So the Gemara says, Reish Lakish says that in the future, the Messianic era, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to expand Yerushalayim 1,000 times the word tafef. Now, the word tafef is just a way to remember the number tafef. The numerical value is 168. So there are going to be 1,000 times 168 gardens, ginos, in Messianic Yerushalayim. Elef kafel migdalim, 1,000 times the word kafel, which is 210, migdalim towers. Elef litzui biranios, right? 1,000 times the word is, which is 146, castles. Elef ushnei Shiloh, tot faros. Literally 1,002 times the word Shiloh, which is 345. Fortresses. V'chal achas v'achas havya kitzipori b'shalvasa. And each and every one of these spaces will be as populated as Tzipori. Tzipori was a big city, as Tzipori was in times of prosperity and peace. So both say, what Reish Lakish is, let's finish over. Tanya, Rabbi Yossi says, Ani ra'isi Tzipori b'shalvasa. I saw Tzipori during a time of peace and tranquility. V'hayuba mea u'shmonim elef shukim shel mochle tzike kedera. And in Tzipori itself, there were simply 180 marketplaces of people who sold the ingredients for cooking, right, or condiments for cooking. I suppose that the idea over here is that, and this is really quite fascinating, that somehow Yerushalayim of the Messianic era is going to be expanded dramatically. Now, of course, what's important to understand over here is lav dafka, that this is not a geographic statement per se. But remember again, the same way that we've seen the Gemara talking about this concept that Yerushalayim of the Messianic era ultimately again is going to be elevated, right? That it's going to sit at an elevation. So not only is it elevated, but ultimately again, it's also expanded. The idea being that Yerushalayim, which is the epicenter of Kedusha, which is the epicenter of everything that is holy in this world, will become dramatically expanded during the Messianic era. What is Yemos HaMashiach? What is Yemos HaMashiach? Yemos HaMashiach is expanded Kedusha. Now, here's something very important. If you're thinking to yourself, that's it, right? That's Yemos HaMashiach, like expanded Kedusha. Supposed to remember again, Mashiach is only something we get excited about if we live lives of Kedusha. If I'm not living a life of Kedusha, then Moshiach is not all that tantalizing, because Olam Hazeh is more exciting. To be excited about Moshiach, you have to be excited about Ruchnius. To be excited about Moshiach, you have to be excited about Kedusha. To be excited about Moshiach, the concept of a spiritually expanded Yerushalayim has to be one that keeps you up at night. That's what Moshiach is. And the way to yearn for Moshiach is to live a life of Kedusha. Because the way Kedusha works is, the more of it you get, the more of it you want. more you enjoy it, the more you realize, I need more, I want more. The Gemara goes weiter. Vatzlos tzela, al tzela shalosh u'shloshim pamim, my shalosh shlosha pamim, Amar Levi, Amar Papi, Mishra Mishod tzidkeuni, im gimel Yerushalayim hein, kol achaz va'achaz yesh ban shloshim midur lamala. So we'll say, once again, the pasuk over here is making reference to the expanded Yerushalayim. So there are two different ways of interpreting this pasuk. So Rabbi says as follows. One possibility is Yerushalayim is going to be 3 times as large as it is now. 3 times larger as it is now. If that's the case, in Gimel Yerushalayim, it literally means if it's 3 Yerushalayim, it means if Yerushalayim is triple its present size, then Kol Achaz V'Achaz Yesh Bashloshim Midur Lamala. Then each, so to speak, each tripled size will have 30 dwellings above it. And as well say, incredible to think about that Messianic Yerushalayim not only extends, in its actual width and length, but also extends up. What also extends up? Which, by the way, I just want to tell you something. You know something beautiful about what's happening in Yerushalayim right now? What's happening in Yerushalayim right now is there's only one way to build in Yerushalayim now, and that is up. It's actually, if you think about it, it's funny. The the satellite community that's where Eretz Yisroel building. It's real. They call it now skyscrapers. Now, skyscrapers in Israel and skyscrapers in America mean 2 very different things. So skyscrapers in Israel is pretty much like anything above 25 floors, right? But I will say, but it's really incredible to see that, and it's fascinating, by the way. There's one way to build, right? In other words, they're out of living space and burial space, right? 2 things that are out of Yerushalayim. So one way is building up, and one way is building down, right? But it's absolutely incredible to see that right now the only way to build in Yerushalayim, in HaKodesh, is higher and higher and higher. So let's say, if you don't see Moshiach in that, then ultimately, again, you're not paying attention to Bava Basra, Ayin Hey Amud Beis. When Moshiach comes, the skyscrapers begin to get built. It's incredible to see. In Shloshim Yerushalayim, if Yerushalayim is 30 times larger than it currently is, then call achaz v'achaz yesh b'shloshim midur lamala. Okay, so we'll say, so again, the idea is, if Yerushalayim is 3 times larger, that means it's going 30 stories up. If you see that Yerushalayim is 30 times larger, then it's only going 3 times up. But either way, Messianic Yerushalayim is building up. We'll say is skyscrapers, higher and higher and larger. Incredible. All right, we'll say that marks the end of our Agadah journey for now. Now back to our regularly scheduled program of Hamocher Es Hasina. So some beautiful halacha. Now we're not done. Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to see a little bit more. A little bit more beautiful Agadah. But for now, let's dig into some great sugyas. Really, I'll say this is great Gemara ahead of us. Itmar, Sina. So I'll say, remember again, the way this parak started, although it's hard to remember the beginning of the parak with everything that's been going on over the last few days, right? But this parak started with Hamocher Es Hasina. If you sell a boat, I'm selling a boat to Ruvain, what is included in the sale of the boat? That's the Shiloh. What's included in the sale of the boat? So Itmar, Svina, Rav Amar Kevan Shemashach Kolshu Kana. So Rav says, when it comes to a boat, I both say now, we're working on the assumption over here that one of the ways in which you could go ahead and acquire a boat is Mashiach, right? Is by literally pulling it. Now again, we're going to discuss all of these kinyanim in depth in just a moment. So how much do you have to pull it? So Rav says, Kevan Shemashach Kolshu Kana. As long as you pulled the boat a little bit, that's enough. Now we're going to see also, Mashiach doesn't require you per se to pull the boat. What Moshiach means is that the boat moves. And again, we're going to see this explored in just a moment. So the idea over here is, Rav says, as long as Masha Kolshu, we'll just call it, you pulled it a little bit or moved a little bit, that's fine. Shmuel says, no. Lo kana achim shachas kula. Shmuel says, in order for Moshiach to work, it has to move an entire boat length. Right? So according to Rav, a little bit of Moshiach, a little bit of movement is enough to acquire it. According to Shmuel, it has to go ahead and move the entire stuff. The boat is 20 feet long, means it's got to move 20 feet. It's got to move an entire boat length. Incredible. Lebe katanai. I'll just mention how beautiful this is. B'derech hashkafa. If you think about this, and this maybe is also ties into Reb Tzaddik, I will say Mashiach is a form of kinyan. So the shaila is kinyan represents change. So in order to affect change, how much movement do you have to make in life? So Rav says, Kol shehu, right? All you need is a little bit of movement. All you need is a little bit of a baby step, and that affects Mashiach, that affects a kinyan, that represents a fundamental unit of change. Shmuel says, perhaps to really affect change in life, you have to do something a bit more dramatic. You have to move, like Shmuel says, Lo kana achim shoch eskula. You have to do something much more dramatic in your life to affect change, right? You have to move. Kula means the entirety. So fascinating, not just for kinyanim, but also for change in life. How much initial change does one need to engage in order to say that the process of change has truly been initiated? All right, we'll see where we end up. Halacha l'maisa and hashkafa l'maisa. Just keep it in mind. Let me kitanoi. So both say this is Rabbi Shmuel's machlokes kitanoi. How so? Both say this is a great gemara over here. Keitzav and mesira. So both say, what is mesira? Now we're going to go through our kinyanim. What is mesira? So the gemara says, achsa betalfa, if you take hold of the hoof of the animal, bisara, or its mane, bu'okaf shalha, its saddle, bishlif shalha, the blanket saddle, sorry, okaf means the bit, right? Bishlif, bu'okaf shalha, the saddle, bishlif shalha, beprum yashabiyah, the bit in its mouth, bezug shebitzavara, or the bell on its neck, kina. So we'll say, what Masira means is like this. I'm selling now, by the way, the way Rashi, points out over here is it's illustrating this with a behema gasa. Not that Mesira is limited to a large animal, but that's the example that's given over here. Right? So I'm selling Ruvain my cow. So how do I allow Ruvain to acquire my cow? So if it's Mesira, essentially I tell Ruvain, take hold of. And now it could be anything. Take hold, in other words, of the animal's hoof. In other words, hold on to it, right? The animal's mane, the animal's saddle, the bit in its mouth, all of these different things. So this is not a movement. This is simply Moshe means to give over. I'm telling Ruvain to take hold of, some part of the animal, and ultimately this goes ahead and affects a kinyan. This affects a kinyan. And that's why the Rashbam says over here, B'talfa b'ragla b'mitzvos hamochar. I, the seller, am telling Ruvain, the purchaser, to go ahead and take hold of this part of the animal, and that affects a kinyan. That's Mesira. Okay. Case of Mashiach. Both says very, very important Gemara, because this is giving us the mechanics of kinyanim. What's Mashiach? Korah v'hiba. Both says, you said before, the word Mashiach, kind of when we hear it, the image we have in our mind is what? You're pulling the animal towards you. But in fact, we're going to see what Mashiach means it doesn't have to be pulling it towards you. Moshe means I'm causing the animal to come towards me. How do I do that? I call the animal, here cow, I call the animal to me, right? And it comes. Or I hit it with a stick, and it moved. Right? Once the animal lifted up its foreleg and its hind leg, I've acquired it. So if I cause the animal, whereas Mesira means the owner is telling me, take hold of the animal, and if I take hold of it, I just literally put my hand on it, some part of the animal, I've acquired it. Mashiach is, I am causing the purchaser, am causing the animal to move. Of course, if you take, let's say, the reins and you pull the animal towards you, that could also be Mashiach. But it doesn't have to be, in other words, I'm causing the animal to move, demonstrative of my new ownership. Ultimately, that's a kinyan. They will say, now, Rabbi Achi, Rabbi Acha, Omer Acha Tahalech Malo Kamas. And I will say, here's what's interesting. The Tanakama says, all I need is for the animal to lift up its foreleg and its hind leg. So like that a step, essentially, right? Once it's taken a step with its foreleg and its hind leg, I have acquired the animal. Comes along Rabbi Achi, and someone says, Rabbi Acha, no. The animal has to move the full length of the animal. So what says? Therefore, we have a machlokes as to what is the shear of Mashiach. Lema Rav Damar Kitanakama. So we'll say, Rav holds like the Tanakama, because the Tanakama holds all the animal needs to do is what? Take a step. One little step, right? One little step. Just like Rav says, all you have to do is move the boat a little bit. And Shmuel, who says that the boat has to be moved the entire length of the boat, holds like Rabbi Acha, that the animal has to move its entire length as well. To which the Gemara says, no. Amar lecha Rav. Rav says, no, not necessarily. The truth is, Rav says, I say my position even according to Rabbi Acha. How so? Ad kano kam Rabbi Acha ela b'balei chayim. Rabbi Acha only said that the animal has to move its full length when it comes to animals. Why? The af agav the akra yad v'regel b'duchta kaima. Because we'll say an animal can lift up its foreleg and its hind leg and still remain in place. I think it could just lift its legs. So therefore, the lifting of the leg is not going to be enough. The animal needs to move, and the only way to meaningfully measure animal movement is a full length of the animal. Avasvina, when it comes to a boat, kevan de nada ba'porta nada lakula. So Rav says, here's the interesting thing about a boat. What's interesting about a boat is that halacha l'maisa, really, there's no such thing as part of a boat moving. Right? Let's say the boat is 10 feet long, right? And I move the boat an inch. Which part of the boat has moved? Which part of the boat has moved? The entire boat. The entire boat. So that's the difference between, ultimately, again, balei chayim and a boat. Balei chayim could lift up a foreleg and a hind leg and remain in place. And therefore, a balei chayim, the only way to really measure meaningful movement is the entire animal moves. A boat, once you move it a little bit, the entire boat has moved. Shmuel says, Shmuel says the truth is, my position could even be in accordance with the Tanakama. How so? Tanakama only said his position by animals, that animals only have to lift up a foreleg and a hind leg. Why? Because once the animal moves one hind leg and foreleg, inevitably what's going to happen? It's going to move the other. And therefore there's going to be meaningful movement. Avasvina imashach lakula in ilo lo. But a boat, if you move the whole thing, good. If you don't move the whole thing, not good. So we'll say, so bottom line is we try to align machlokes, Rav and Shmuel, this machlokes. Tanakam Rabbi Acha, it turns out they don't align. So we'll say, so bottom line, we are still stuck with our fundamental machlokes, Rav and Shmuel. I want to acquire a boat with Moshiach. How much do I have to move the boat? Rav says any amount, even a small amount. Shmuel says it's got to move an entire boat length. Says the Gemara, Leima Kehani Tanoi, say that Rav and Shmuel hold like the following Tanoim, Desanya, they learned, Sfina Niknis B'Moshiach. Shmuel say, this is an incredible price over here, and this price is going to keep us busy, really busy, for the next day, and Meretz Hashem a little bit into tomorrow as well. So here we go. Sfina Niknis B'Moshiach. A boat could be acquired with Moshiach. So remember again, we've established, what does Moshiach mean? Moshiach means causing the movement of the item you are going to acquire through your action. Through your action. I'm doing something that is causing movement. So Sfina Niknis B'Moshiach. Rabbi Nassan Omer, Sfina Va'osios Niknos B'Moshiach. Rabbi Nassan says a boat and osios. Okay, so this is very exciting. What's osios? Take a look at the last Rashbam on Ayin Hamad Beis. Osios, Shtarchov. Osios, Rabbi say, is a note of indebtedness, a loan document. Loan document, Shtarchov, Shemachro, Onos Lon Chavero, Kedei Liknos Es Hashtar, Vesachov, Shakasobo, Kani Lebe Meshicha, Kishiyavo Liyodashim Salamochas. Rabbi say, watch this. This is actually a fascinating case. I lent Ruvain $1,000. Okay. I now want to sell the note to Shimon. How do you sell a note? So that note is called osios. The reason it's called osios, Rabbi say, is because remember, on that loan document, what's valuable? What's valuable? The writing, right? What's not so valuable? The paper, right? So in other words, it's not the shtar, it's not the document, it's the osios. So how do you sell a loan document? So Rav Nosson wants to say Mashiach, I give it over. So we'll say, so that Pashas would be a case of where I go ahead and if Reuven goes ahead, well, we'll see. Mashiach. Let's not define it yet. Ubishtar. Tabavayin Vav. Furthermore, again, you also need a shtar. So in order to go ahead and convey ownership of osios of a loan document, you need number one Mashiach and the shtar. Take a look at the top Rashbam on 76a Ayin Vav Amudal Fu Bishtar. In Kasav Lo Shtar Mechira Ashtar Salalu Kidamer Lekamon Kani Lecha who V'chol Shibudei Ava B'Mesira Below Shtar Lo Kani Ela Latzra Al Pitzluches. So we'll say, again, we're going to expound on this. Rabbi Nassan says, in order to sell a loan document, simple Mesira or Mashiach is not enough. You also need a shtar. You need a document of sale. Because in that document, you highlight the idea that you are selling this loan document and all of its obligations and all of its liens. See, the problem is, without that document, without that shtar mechira, when you're giving over the person that loan document, maybe I'm just giving them a piece of paper. What good is a piece of paper? A piece of paper is great, especially parchment. What could it be used for? A bottle stop. Right? A bottle stop. Yeah. Stopper. Right, a stopper. Good. Right, good. A cork. Use as a cork, right? Use as a cork. So therefore, without the shtar mechir, without the document of sale, it's not clear that I'm actually selling him the right to collect the document. Okay. So now Gemara says, whoa. Osios mandikar shmayo. Who brought up osios? Where did that come from? That's not our topic. We're talking about boats, right? We're all boats all the time. So why are you bringing up this osios, this loan documents? To which the Gemara said, I will say the most exciting words in Shas, chisuri mechsera. Right? I will say chisuri mechsera is like, getting to the bottom of a cereal box and finding that prize. Right? I've been waiting. I knew something was missing, something was in here. So chisuri mechsera v'hachi katani. So ultimately, again, there's something missing from the exchange over here, and here's how you have to read the brisa. Here we go. We'll say second line, 76a. Svina niknis b'mashicha. A boat. He's required Moshiach. So we'll say once again, what's Moshiach? Let's define our kinyonim. What's Moshiach? Causing movement. Now remember, the brisa beforehand illustrated Moshiach with an animal. Right? So how did you do Moshiach with an animal? You hit it and it runs. Or you call to it and it comes to you. Right? Did it illustrate anything else? Right. So I'll say, so that's it. Now, by a boat, how would you do Moshiach? So either you could actually pull the boat. Right? Take a rope and pull the boat. You could also command other people to move the boat. That would be Moshiach. Okay. So now watch this. So the Gemara says, so hachi katani. So sinan is b'Moshiach, va'osios b'mesira. Oh. And how is a loan document acquired? A loan document is acquired b'mesira. Now what is it? What is Mesira? What's Mesira? I have the loan document and I give it over to Ruvain. Or I tell Ruvain to go ahead and what? Take it from my hands. That's Mesira. Now according to this approach, why doesn't Mashiach, in other words, why wouldn't Mashiach work with a loan document? Take a look at the Rashbam. The Rashbam says over here, Va'oseh b'Mesira, aval Mashiach eina ela b'davar shegufo mamon. The Moshiach le zochabe v'achenami lotz legabe lotzra apir sluchi sotehani le Moshiach kisham talton. So we'll say this is fascinating. The Rashbam suggests that according to Rabbi Nassan, Moshiach is a kinyan that only works with an item that has inherent value. But an item that does not have inherent value, Moshiach doesn't work. So for example, a loan document doesn't have inherent value as a loan document, right? A loan document only has inherent value to be a bottle stopper, to be a cork, right? So the Maisa, if you want to acquire the loan document as a loan document, it has to be through Mesira and not through Mashiach. Now, where that comes from and what that is, we'll have to see. But again, right now, just ingest the pieces of information. So now, according to this approach over here, Tanakama says a boat is acquired with Mashiach, but a loan document only acquired with Mesira. Rabbi Nassan comes along and says, Rabbi Nassan Omer, Sfina va'osios niklas b'Mashiach, u'bishtar. Rabbi Nassan says, no, both a boat as well as a loan document can be acquired with Mashiach as long as there is also a shtar. Okay, so also the Gemara says, whoa, shtar l'sfina, lama li'metatlihi. Why do I now say now the way it sounds like according to Rabbi Nassan is so Rabbi Nassan disagrees with Tanakama. So Tanakama holds that a boat can be acquired with Mashiach. Osios, a loan document, only with Mesira. Comes along Rabbi Nassan. Rabbi Nassan says both a boat as well as a loan document can be acquired with Mashiach, but you also need a shtar. Now it sounds like Rabbi Nassan is saying that you need a shtar both for what? Both for the osios as well as for the boat. So says the Gemara, I don't understand. Why does the boat need a shtar? Why does one need a shtar? Right, the boat is metaltalin. Metaltalin ultimately again could be acquired with Mesira through Mashiach. And I don't understand why a shtar. I understand why the shtar might be necessary for the osios, for the loan document, because maybe the shtar is necessary to give over the full power of the osios of the loan document. But why would I need a shtar for the boat? Rather, here's how I have to read it. Sina niknis b'Mashiach, v'osios b'Mesira. So we'll say, here's how I have to read it. One more time. Third try. A boat is acquired with Mashiach. A loan document is Mesira. Again, what's the logic? Mashiach only acquires items that have inherent value. So remember again, loan document doesn't have inherent value. Again. So therefore, the boat is acquired with Moshiach, loan document Mesira. Rabbi Nassan says Sfina b'Moshiach. Rabbi Nassan disagrees. Rabbi Nassan says he agrees. A boat can be acquired with Moshiach. Osios b'shtar. But ultimately again, the osios loan document can only be acquired with a shtar. Okay, so we'll say so in this third version over here, Tanakama, boat Meshicha, osios Mesira. Rabbi Nassan agrees, boat Meshicha, and osios only through a shtar. So Mara says, okay, Sfina b'Mashicha and Tanakama. So then really Rabbi Nassan and Tanakama are saying the same thing. Rabbi Nassan and Tanakama are both agreeing that a svina is acquired with Mashiach. So what's the machlokes? Ella de Rav u'Shmuel igibinai. So it must be able to say what's the machlokes Rabbi Nassan and Tanakama. So we'll say obviously if Rabbi Nassan is restating that a boat could be acquired with Mashiach, right? He doesn't need to restate it if he agrees with the Tanakama. The fact that he's restating it must mean that he disagrees with the Tanakama. But what's the machlokes? They're both saying that a boat can be acquired with Mashiach. What's the machlokes? The machlokes is Rav and Shmuel. Namely, how much Mashiach do you need? One opinion holds, now it's not clear who holds like who, but one opinion will say like Rav, that halacha l'maisa, all you need is a little bit of Mashiach, right? You have to just pull it, just has to be moved a little bit. And the other opinion will say that it's like Shmuel, that it has to be moved a full boat length. To which the Gemara says, no, that's not it. No, that's not a point of contention. Right? Everybody agrees with one of these two opinions. In other words, no machlokes over here. Either the halacha is like Rav, that it has to move a little bit, like Shmuel has to move the full boat length, but there's no machlokes there. So the Gemara says, "Ubesfina kol amalo pligi." So we'll say, and the truth is, there isn't machlokes by a boat. Everyone agrees that a boat is acquired through Mashiach. Okay, how much Mashiach do you need? That's a separate machlokes, Rav and Shmuel, which we have not yet resolved. But everyone agrees, both Mashiach. We just have to figure out how much Mashiach means Mashiach. So what's the machlokes supposed to? Here we go. Here it gets great over here. Keep ligi, bosios. Okay. The machlokes is how you acquire loan documents. That's the machlokes. How does one acquire osios? And here we go. And here's what Rabbi Nassan says to Tanakama. So Rabbi Nassan says like this. Tanakama, I absolutely agree with you when it comes to a boat. Right? The halacha is when it comes to a boat is acquired with Mashiach. We have no argument there. How much Mashiach, like Rav, like Shmuel, okay, that still needs to be clarified. But there's no argument there. But osios, however, again, what Rabbi Nassan does say is, by osios, kashtar in ilolo. So we'll say, so apparently, based on this conversation, the Tanakama holds that you could acquire osios even with just stam mesira. Stam mesira. Rabbi Nassan comes along and says, no. In order to acquire a loan document requires mesira, or however you're getting the shtar, from seller to purchaser, but there also must be a shtar. There has to be a document of sale. And in that document of sale, what's being recorded? That the owner of the document, meaning the lender. So let's just illustrate this now. I lend Reuven $1,000. I now want to sell this note to Shimon. So Tanakama says, no problem, mesira. Just give it over. Because remember again, the power of collection is held by whoever holds the note. So now, once I give this over to Shimon, and Shimon does a proper kinyan, mesira, hakbo, whatever he's going to do, he's the owner of the note. So now he has the power of collection. Rabbi Nassan says, no, that's not enough. It's not enough. If I want to really convey power of collection of that note to Shimon, number one, it has to give over the note, but number two, there has to be another supplemental shtar. There has to be another document of sale. And in that document of sale, like the Rashbam said, like the Tarab Rashbam said, in that document I say, Shimon, I'm transferring to you the document, the Chol Shibudei, and all of its liens and encumbrances. And if you don't have that shtar, then the transfer of the osios is not complete. That's what and that is the point. So there is no machlokes by svina, by boat, between Rabbi Nassan and Tanakama. Everyone's agreeing, both can be conveyed through Mashiach or Mesir, whatever kinyan, we'll call it Mashiach right now, right? Rather, Shaila is an osios. And the machlokes Tanakama and Rabbi Nassan is the fine machlokes Tanakama. Here we go. The Sanya, Osios, Rebbe holds that Osios, a loan document, can be conveyed through Mesira, right? I go ahead and I have a loan document to Reuven for $1,000. I want to convey it to Shimon. I say, Shimon, pick up the document. Shimon picks it up, and it says, that's Rebbe. The say, no, Bein Kasav Velo Masar, whether I wrote the document but didn't do Mesira, Bein Masar Velo Kasav, or I did Mesira but didn't write a document, Lokana Achi Yichto V'Yimsar. It's the loan document is only acquired when ultimately, again, there's a shtar and there's Mesira. See, here it is. The Machlokes Tanakama and Rabbi Nassan is in fact the Machlokes Tanoim, Rebbe and the Chachamim. Rebbe says that you can convey ownership over a loan document simply through Mesira. Chachamim say it needs a shtar and Mesira. Okay, so now let's analyze. Omayo Kimta. Correct. So now you've established this. Now you've established ultimately again this conversation like Rebbe. I like Rebbe that Rebbe ultimately again holds that halacha l'maisa loan document could just be given over b'mesira. Okay. So now let's analyze this. Rashi says V'ma'u kimla Tanakama Rabbi Nassan Karebi. Right. So ultimately again the Tanakama in the discussion with Rabbi Nassan is like Rebbe. If that's the case, Sfina nami tikni b'mesira. Oh, okay. So you're introducing Rebbe over here. If you're introducing Rebbe, so by the way, Rebbe holds that a boat need not be acquired through Moshiach. A boat could also be acquired through Mesira. Now I will say, based on what we just said before, how would you acquire a boat by Mesira? How would you acquire it? So remember again, by an animal, what did we say? What are examples of Mesira? I'm conveying ownership of my cow to Ruvain, right? So what do I tell him? Lift up, not even lift up, hold the hoof, right? Take hold of the saddle. So I could go. So if I want to, so according to Rabbi, I want to convey ownership of my boat through that. I say, Ruvain, go lift up. Hold on to the anchor, right? Hold on to an oar. Hold on to the mast. I don't know, whatever. Hold on to some part of it, and that should affect kinyan. Taking the Mesir, the sanyo svina. Next Mesir, Rabbi. Both the last line, right? Rabbi holds that halacha l'maisa both is acquired by Mesira. The Chachamim say. Lo kana amud beis, lo kana ad sheyim shechena, or ad sheyiskar es mikoma. The Chacham say no. The Chacham say that halacha l'maisa, you need Mashiach. Now, literally translated, you need Mashiach, or you must rent the space that the boat is currently occupying. So we'll say. So remember again, if you rent the space that the boat is occupying, you can acquire the boat. How do you acquire the boat like that? What is that kinyan called? Kinyan chatzer. Kinyan Chaser. The Rashbam says over here, actually, Yiskar, Amad Beis, the Reshuso Shal Adam Konalo, Kedanaf Galon, Meve'ina Timsa, Himatse Timatse Biad Hagneva. So I'll say, so again, that's Kinyan Chaser. So I'll say, see, seal here. So now, let's go back for a second. So if you're setting up the Tanakama, right? We're setting up now that the disputant of Rabbi Nassan before is the Tanakama. Tanakama holds like Rebbe. Rebbe holds that osios can be given over just with Mesira without a shtar. But Rebbe also holds that a boat could be acquired with Mesira. So if that's the case, why don't we introduce this into the narrative as well and say, up until now, we're saying everyone agrees that a boat could be acquired with Mashiach. Well, Rebbe holds that a boat could be acquired with Mesira. The Chacham disagree. The Chacham say either need Mashiach or Kinyan Chaser. So what's going on? The Gemara says, no, it's not a contradiction. Kan b'rshus harabim, kan b'simta. Okay, so both say, so now this is very important. I'm going to get into this in just a moment. Remember, the type of kinyan you could use very much also depends on where the object itself is situated. What do I mean by that? Take a look at the Rashbam Lo Kasha. This is great. They both say, this daf, I'm just telling you, this daf, chock full with information. Chock full with information and important and profound nuggets of kinyanic wisdom that we are going to need as we move ourselves forward. So watch this. Lo Kashya. The Rashbam says, Hadda Amar Rebbe Sfina b'Mesira. When Rebbe said that a boat could be acquired with Mesira, Hainu b'Rshus Harabim. That's if the boat is situated in the Rshus Harabim. Kigon Rakak Mayim Sheb'Rshus Harabim. The Efshar Mashiach, the Ei Mashiach Elaki Shemoshech L'Rshuso. So some very important information over here. I'll say, by the way, when does Moshiach work? Moshiach works when the animal is moving into your domain. It's a little nugget of information that was left out, right? So in other words, when I'm acquiring with Moshiach means the animal is moving to me. To me means into my domain. Therefore, in order to use Mashiach, one of two things have to occur. Either we're in jointly owned property, or or the animal, the object is coming into my property. So for example, I'm going to switch it now. I'm acquiring an animal from Reuven, right? So now Reuven's giving me a cow. So I go ahead and I say, here cow, and the cow comes to me. That works in one of two ways. Either the property in which we're currently situated is jointly owned by me and Reuven, by Reuven and I, and therefore again it's my property. Or when I say here cow, you have to say, I say it twice for a fact. Right, here cow, right? So ultimately, again, the animal is coming into my reshus. That's how Mashiach works. Mashiach must be done on my property. Now, Masira can be done anywhere. Masira can be done anywhere. Say for our site, when the Gemara says over here, so there's not a contradiction about how to acquire a boat. A boat could be acquired, both with Mashiach and with Masira. It just depends on what? Where's the boat? If the boat is in Rosh Hashanah waters, right, or for that matter in dry dock, but it's in Rosh Hashanah, so then halacha l'maisa again, Masira will work. So I'm sorry, Masira will work, Mashiach will not work. But if it's in Avosai, here's what's interesting. If it's in my property, jointly owned property, or a simta Avosai is like a little bit of like we'll call it like an offshoot of the Rosh Hashanah. We saw this from our Erevin days. So simta, if you look at the Rashbam, he says over here, he says, "Oh simta kidla, come on." He says, "How do simta go?" If you skip down a little bit, if you skip down in the Rashbam, about 4 lines into the short lines of the Rashbam, he says, "How do simta kigon mivos kitanim hapesuchim l'sharabim." So simta Avosai was like a little alleyway off the Rosh Hashanah. Now, technically speaking, it's still legally Rosh Hashanah. V'yesh b'hem mayim usfina omer l'sham d'cheivan in Rosh Hashanah mamish. Ela d'zimnin dochki b'nei Rosh Hashanah v'ayli lahasam. V'yesh rishus la'adam l'sheves sham harehu b'rishus kol mi sha'omei sham liknos b'mashicha ki'ilu hi rishuso. So the simta are like these little more private alleyways off the Rosh Hashanah. Now, sometimes when Rosh Hashanah becomes very congested, pedestrian traffic spills off into there. But really the way the simta works in halacha is the simta is usable for whoever is currently occupying it. Right? So if you're in the simta, Chazal gave you the halachic right to use it as your rishus hayochid. To use it as your rishus hayochid. So Rabbi said, this is incredible. Therefore there's no stira. You could technically acquire a boat, both with Mashiach and both with Masira, which makes sense. Metaltal could be acquired Mashiach or Masira. But what does it depend on? Where is the object situated? Mashiach only works if it's being drawn into your property or jointly owned property, but Masira works even in Rishus Harabim. Incredible. Third line down, 76b in Bava Days, says Rabbi to the Basra. So how are you establishing this last case? Rishus Harabim. So you're establishing it now as a Rishus Harabim case. And that's why Rebbe says, how do you acquire the boat? You acquire the boat with Masira. How do you establish, right? It's established with Masira. So the Gemara is not Rebbe. The Gemara says, however, look at the Ema Seifa. Look at the end of that price. The Chum say, Lo kana achiyim shechena. So we'll say, here's the problem. You're establishing this now as a case of Rosh Hashanah, but yet the Chachamim say that it only works halacha l'maisa if what? If you do Mashiach. I don't understand. We just said the Ibr Rosh Hashanah miman ogir. But how can you do Mashiach in Rosh Hashanah? Right now, both of this, the Chachamim say you could do. Remember, we're establishing now this price that we just said. The price at the end of Ayin Bava Madalef going on to TALMUD Beis. We're establishing that as a case of Rosh Hashanah. That's why Rebbe said Masira. That's why Rebbe said Masira. So now 1 second, let's look at the position of Chacham. The Chacham said, but you could do Mashiach, right? But you could do Mashiach if you rent the space. Here's the problem. If it's Rosh Hashanah, who are you renting it from? Miman Ogir. Visu. Mashiach Rosh Hashanah Mikanya. Does Mashiach work in Rosh Hashanah? We just got finishing that Mashiach doesn't work in Rosh Hashanah. What's going on over here? Masira Koner Rosh Hashanah. We'll say another incredible nugget of information over here. Abayi Rabbi says as follows. Masira works in Rosh Hashanah or in property that doesn't belong to either party. Right? Which means essentially, Masira could work anywhere. Mashiach Kona Besimta, Ubechasa Shishal Shneim. Mashiach works either way, Rabosai. Mashiach, now the Gemara doesn't say because it's obvious. Mashiach obviously works if it's in the property of the purchaser, or in jointly owned property, or in a simta. In a simta. Rabosai here, wait, it gets better. The Hagba kana b'chol makom. Hagba works everywhere. So we'll say, by the way, tremendous piece piece of information we just got over here. We'll say, Kinyanim 101, right? Mashiach only works, let's start up. Mesira works everywhere. Mashiach, I should say it differently. Mesira and Hagba work everywhere. Right? Hagba is living. We really haven't spoken about Hagba all that much. Mashiach only going to work either in property of the purchaser or jointly owned property, but will not work in publicly held property, in Rosh Hashanah. So we'll say, so watch this. So the Gemara says, so now circling back, how could the Chacham, if we set up the price of Rosh Hashanah, how could the Chacham say that you can use Mashiach for the boat? There's no Mashiach in Rosh Hashanah. What's going on over here? So the Gemara says, my achim shechena nami dekamar, or my achis kras makama dekamar. How does it means to say, achim shechena mirshus harabim l'simta. Okay. So I'm saying, the Chacham is saying like this. There is a way to do Mashiach on a boat that is situated in Rosh Hashanah. How do you do it? You're Moshiach it into a simta. Right? Or ultimately, again, into joint. In other words, you're right. Where that's the whole chab. The Chacham will say, if the boat is currently held, if boat is currently floating in Rosh Hashanah, and you want to do Mashiach on that, so Mashiach is only going to work if you pull it into or cause it to move into privately held space. Either one of three things. Either the purchaser's property, jointly owned property held by the purchaser and the seller, or a simta. A simta, if you're Moshiach the boat into that area, then ultimately Mashiach will work. But I will say, if the boat is situated in the property of the seller, lo kana ad sheyiskra eskama. Or there is a fourth possibility. What's the fourth possibility? The fourth possibility is rent the space from the owner. So we'll say, so essentially, you could acquire a boat with Mashiach, but of course Mashiach only works if the item is moving into the property of the purchaser. There are one of essentially four ways that you could have property of the purchaser. Either one is actually property of the purchaser, right? Number two, jointly held property. Number three, a simta. Or number four, the purchaser rents the space. In other words, the boat is situated in the seller's property. The purchaser rents the space from the current owner. So if you have one of those four things in Inachinami, you could do Mashiach because now the Mashiach is happening into the property of the purchaser. Incredible. So we'll say, like a treasure trove of Kenyanic information over here. Incredible. So the Gemara goes weiter. So Rabbi Sabai and Rava both hold like Rebbe. So the Gemara says, no, not necessarily. So Amar Vashi, Ida Amar Le, Lech Chazik Vekani, Hachinami. So we'll say, ultimately, again, if we're talking about a case where the seller was telling to the purchaser, go and acquire, then maybe I could say that. Hacham Askinon. So we'll say, it's very interesting. What is the case over here? First of all, take a look at the Rashbam for just a moment. Lema Abaye v'Rava Damri Karebi, Damar Sfina Niknis b'Mesira b'Rishus Harabim, v'lo Kirabanon, Tila Rabbanon less lu Mesira Kona b'Rishus Harabim, the Mishum Haki Amar Lo Kona Achim Shechana b'Rishus Harabim. So say that Abaye and Rava both hold like Rebbe, that ultimately, again, that the boat is acquired with Mesira and Rishus Harabim, to which the Gemara says, no, what's the case here? Both said, this is fascinating. In other words, so if it turns out that you don't need Mashiach for a boat, so why has this whole conversation? Why did it start with Mashiach? In other words, it turns out that now, according to Rebbe, you could use Mesira for a boat as well. So why has the focus always been on Mashiach from the beginning? Shavuot say this is a fascinating turn of events. Watch this. So the Gemara says because the case over here is. Fascinating. The case over here is right. Reuven is selling me the boat. And when Reuven sells to me, what does he say? He says, go, do Mashiach, and acquire it. We'll say, here we go. So what's the machlokes? Mar savar kapeda. We'll say, this is very interesting, and this is really fascinating. When the seller tells me to acquire the object, and the seller identifies a particular kinyan. Right? So Reuven says to me, I want you to go and acquire my boat with Moshiach. Lech Moshiach lekani. Do Moshiach and acquire it. How do we interpret the seller's statement? The Gemara says, Mar Savar Kipeda. One opinion says that Reuven is makbid. Reuven Dafka wants you to acquire it through Moshiach. Otherwise, the fact that he named the kinyan indicates that he's saying, this is the way I want you to acquire the object, and no other way. No other way. It has to be through Moshiach. Umar Savar Mara Makum Hulo. The other opinion says, no, Reuven doesn't care how I do it. Mashicha, Masira, Hagba. Hagba would not be possible by both. Hagba, that doesn't matter. He's just giving me an example of how to acquire it. So both say, that's why we got into this whole discussion about Mashicha, because the case over here is where the seller, Reuven, is telling me to acquire the boat from Mashicha. How do we interpret that statement? Does that mean that Tafke, he wants me to use Mashicha, and unless I use Mashicha, I'm not acquiring the boat? Or no, halach l'maisa maramoko. Maramoko is giving me a suggestion. So we'll say, so we're going to have to stop over here for today. So bottom line, by the way, we have not, so first of all, what a journey. What an exciting kinyanic journey. How much information we picked up along the way. Interesting enough, with all this information, we have still not answered our core question, which is, when doing Mashicha on a boat, so ultimately, again, how much do you have to move the boat? So Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav saying again, you have to go, any amount is fine. Shmuel saying an entire boat length. That still has not yet been answered. And Me'eretz Hashem tomorrow. Shkach Rabosai.